Hello and welcome to Transformation Now. Hi, I'm Rita Rocker with SoaringHigher.Rocks, and as a speaker, author, and trainer, my heart is to always help people on the inside, who they really are inside, and as well as the outside with their communication and their image and just what they're showing other people as far as who they are. And so I've been working with my book called Creating Your Own Destiny, Power Steps for Mind, Body Renewal. And I also have a workbook with that that's very helpful to actually sit down and work through all of these issues, all these programs. So in chapter 4, it's called The Miracle in My Mirror, okay? Who do we see when we look in the mirror? Okay, you see yourself. And some people are going, oh yeah, I look pretty cool. And others going, oh my goodness, look at you. And so we're all God's children, we're all made the same, and we're all equally valuable. And so what I'll be doing this time is reading just a little bit more of some paragraphs and then talk about each one from my book. Okay, so it said, our Creator fashioned us as visual beings with the ability to create various mental pictures, because that's how he designed us. And so creating various mental pictures, that's up to us. It's like, well, I can't create that. I've never been that way. No. That's what's so cool about this, is the fact that we can create mental pictures of us doing things that is like, well, I've never experienced that before. No, you create. It doesn't cost a penny. It just takes some time. And it doesn't take, a degree, college, and nothing. We sit and we create, okay? So you can create mental pictures of who you want to become. And then it becomes like second nature. So people who are winning Olympics and pageants and NFL, the big rings, and the Super Bowls and all of that, they picture and they picture and they picture and they rehearse. They rehearse it all to the point where it's second nature and it's not even scary. They just think about driving a car. Well, I'll start off with a bicycle, and you learn how to ride a bike. What do? Maybe fall off a few times. And you practice and practice until it's second nature, and then you just get on that thing and just fly. Okay, I remember growing up and some of the boys, that was pretty funny, but flying in that. And then we learn how to drive a car, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared looking around, and how do I do this, and what do I do? And then it becomes such second nature to you that you don't even think about starting the car, how to back it out, what to do. It's second nature, it's habit. Well, the most successful people are doing the same thing with their minds, with their creativity. They think about it, they practice it. Anytime they can get out and actually do something, whether it's being a roller skating champion, a bowling champion, a sports person, if they want to do public speaking, and if they want to be on TV and be a weather forecaster or a news anchor, what do? A lot of them are practicing in the mirror at home to start off with. You see funny things sometimes where somebody's got a hairbrush and it's like they're talking into a microphone with a hairbrush. And so what do? We practice, we think about it, we rehearse it until it's such second nature that when we get out there, it's like, oh yeah, this is normal. I mean, people who are nervous about networking, like I'd rather talk in front of 500,000 people a lot of times than go into networking where I don't know people, okay? I admit it. And so what is so important there? To rehearse, to practice, to think about questions that you could ask those people. Maybe research ahead of time. If you see a list of who's attending, you can research ahead of time, Google them, find out what they do, and you can think about questions. Oh, what brings you here today? And start talking to them about them. And then they should ask you questions about you. But, always think about, what can I engage other people in that would be about them? Do you have any kids that are playing in the game today? Whatever the case may be, and get them talking about them. That's the best way to open up conversations and to keep you from feeling very uncomfortable about, well, gosh, I don't know what to say to anybody. I'll just sit with my little plate of food in the back of the corner. No. And there, I've told people too, if you're very like nervous about approaching people, look for someone who's standing there all alone, because they're nervous about approaching people and they will love it when you come up and start talking to them. So look for people who are alone, who seem a little self-conscious. Maybe that's the first time they've been to something like that. How are you? You know, what were you looking for today? And ask them questions about them, and that will really help a lot to get you through some of those doors of feeling self-conscious, I should say, okay, and build up your self-confidence. All right, so using your imagination is so extremely important, and it may feel silly at first, but that's the one place, no charge, you can sit there and dream about who you want to be, what you want to do, who you want to associate with, what kind of house do you want to live in, what kind of car do you want, etc. And it really works. And I've seen too many success stories to think differently. But that's the key. So the way you see yourself, of course, within very personal mental pictures, you know, it covers your mind, your will, your emotions, what you're going to let take deep root in your spirit, okay? But again, like I said last time, you never want to dwell on anything that's going to be a negative weed growing up in your life, just what's positive. Because your subconscious, this one guy was saying, who's brilliant, said like 95, I believe he said 95% of what we do is from our conscious, you know, what we do every day. But the subconscious is actually, that has imprinted in your mind, you know, your past. So if your past has been really tough, your subconscious is always going to relate to that, to think about that, and it causes you to do things in your conscious everyday life. And so what we have to do is train the subconscious, that little bit behind, because once that's trained with new thoughts, new imprints, new plans, new blueprints, that's through constant practice. And once we do that, the subconscious takes up. The subconscious doesn't know if something's true or not. It just follows or functions according to what we're imprinting in it, what it's used to. Okay, so always think about that. It's a control of the subconscious, moving it. And you know, I used to hear that saying all the time, it's mind over matter. Well, matter means the physical, what's going on. And now I'm realizing that's really true. But we have to train that mind to stop thinking a certain way, to change the matter, to change our bodies, to change our lives and every part of our life. And so think about that. The mind over matter is really, I used to think, yeah, okay, but it's really true. And so what this says here is, you know, that you become what your subconscious has. And one thing that's is like a magnet. Your subconscious is like a magnet, and will keep pulling in whatever it is you've experienced. So this one gentleman was saying it's all about your past. You wake up in the morning and thoughts come to your mind. Unless you've trained it to think about the things that you're going to do that are positive, it immediately goes back to your past. And that's where your thoughts are, and that's what you do when you get up. You follow the same patterns. And so I was going, wow, you know, that is really true. It's like a magnet, and it causes things to stick to you until that is switched around, so that it's like, oh yeah, that is really true. And so you want to change your subconscious, and that can only happen by changing your experiences that you're creating in your mind. So think about that. And what you become, what you imagine. Okay, that's it. So again, you can change your entire psyche by working on that. It's a daily job. This brilliant guy that was talking said, you know, sometimes, you know, he said he's seen sick people healed of all kinds of things. And I believe that, you know, in the Christian realm, but he was talking about even in the mind, because they change the cells in their body by only accepting certain things. And it was really powerful to listen to him to do that. So think about that. You know, and even shifting being self-conscious to being self-confident, all right? So confidence is who you are, who you think you are, who you know you are. It's you're poised, you're sure of yourself, you're secure in who you are. And so that's what you're doing every day. And you'll notice you'll start walking more confidently, more positively, because you've trained your mind to do that, and it's just second nature at that point. So put yourself in an imaginary story, because after all, we are what we experience, what we think, and think about that and dictate a new message to your mind. So this part says, there once was a young lady named Bella who actually was a very smart, talented woman. She just couldn't see it for herself. Okay, she couldn't really see all that was in there, all the gifts she had, all the talent she had. She longed to know what her divine purpose was, to be so much more physically in shape. Okay, that takes work. I'm working on that one too. To be strong, to deal with her not so dysfunctional, it was a dysfunctional family, and friends, okay? Because she constantly compared herself to those around her with their successes, their looks, their talents, their finances, you name it, whatever the case may be, that she became more and more self-conscious. All right, so she started focusing on those things that are going around her, and they all made her feel more self-conscious as the time went on. What does that do? It can hold you back from the job you want, because it's like, oh, gee, I don't know, I don't want to be embarrassed. So many things that can hold you back from when you become self-conscious, not reaching out to the right people, the right partner, all of those things. And so it says, Bella longed to achieve her divine purpose, but she was too focused on herself, her fears, how inadequate she felt compared to others. Okay? How many of you have done that? I know that's been a struggle throughout my life. There were a myriad of reasons and situations that she blamed herself for her unhappiness. Condescending family members and people at school, a nasty boss, old tape still playing in her mind from fair weather friends. However, living a life of excuses kept her what? Stuck. How many of you have felt stuck? I've dealt a lot with being stuck, and it's not a fun place to be. Stuck. Okay? So unable to venture too far from her familiar places, okay? We all kind of sometimes want to go back to the familiar place, even though we know it's not a good place to be, but it's familiar, rather than reaching out to something that takes a little bit of bravery maybe to take those steps forward. Where she could risk failure or rejection without deflating her self-esteem even more. Yes, there are risks that we take when we want to go forward, but it's definitely worth it because we know we're strong enough to go through them. We can walk through them, get to the other side of it. She often became angry and disappointed with who? Herself. How many of us have done that? Angry and disappointed with ourselves. What we believe to be true determines how we act and react to life, a friend said. Why do you believe you only deserve the life of a hen pecking for crumbs in the barnyard when you were meant to soar like the eagles? Okay? Or shall we say, soar like a phoenix rising, which is how I like to think about it, or the eagle too. So she did not realize that she herself was actually the CEO of her own life and well able to make her own life transforming decisions. She had within herself everything she needed to fulfill her dreams and her ambitions. Number one key ingredient, attitude. Self-esteem and attitude go hand in hand, no doubt about it. And that's so important. What is our attitude? I've seen people with great attitudes and they weren't maybe as qualified for a job, because I used to be in human resources. I did a lot of recruiting and job placement at one time for several years. And it's like, you know what? This person really doesn't have all the technical skills, for instance, or some of the other things, but they have the attitude. They have the can-do attitude. And then you see someone who maybe has all the degrees and all the education and all the experience, but they don't have the right attitude to fit in with the other people in that environment. They don't have the right attitude to listen to other people and communicate together in order to have a cohesive group, a cohesive unit. So think about that. You know, we do have that ability to make our own life transforming decisions. So she had that within her. She just had to start pulling it out. And attitude is so key. You know, if somebody has a bad attitude, it kind of rains on everybody else. If someone has a good attitude, even going through a trial, people are like, oh my gosh, look at you. But it encourages them to change their attitudes when they're going through something equally as tough, which a lot of people are right now. So it says, Bella thought long and hard and decided it was time to take her journey of discovery about what a magnificent creature she really was. Same magnificent creatures that you really are. Once she made up her mind to seek and build self-confidence, she began noticing many wonderful people who had accomplished unbelievable feats when life was truly against them. There's stories everywhere about that. I see them constantly because I'm looking for them for encouragement and to know anything is possible, especially with God's help. And so she was noticing that, and she saw others who were not hindered by lack of education, age for a lot of folks, finances, or anything else that could be an excuse. Excuses are huge. I mean, we make up excuses about, again, I'm too old, I don't have any money, I'm too fat, I'm unlovely, whatever the case may be. Those are excuses. And we can accept them, or we can go, oh, heck no, that's not an excuse. I see too many people doing miraculous things that had nothing. So my little excuse is nothing, and I'm not buying it any longer. So one powerful example was when she read about a young lady who lived with her mother in a homeless shelter for several years. She had no decent home, no room of her own, or anything but hand-me-downs. And competing with kids in school who had everything was really, really hard on her. However, she never lost her self-confidence and instead earned a scholarship to Harvard. Okay, that would be pretty hard to live in homeless shelters and not really have anything, have to go find a laptop maybe and wherever they have them and all that, but she kept it up. Okay, Bella then remembered as a little girl how she watched a young teenager win the Miss Teen USA pageant, that title. What was astounding about the competition? That young lady was at the time a foster child who won with a $39 evening gown that the foster mom put a few little decorative things on to try to glitz it up a little bit. $39. I was in the Mrs. America pageant and I was struggling really hard and I had nothing, but I was in it. So I could totally relate to this personally, that this little angel, she didn't let any of that stop her. She went forward and she had enough confidence in who she was, regardless of not having any money or not really having a real birth family. She won. What was it? It was her attitude. I'm sure she must have probably spent a lot of time imagining and rehearsing and doing all these things that she needed to do in order to be a powerful example to teenagers across the world for what she had done. So Bella decided too that she could alter the course of her life and design a new map for her life's journey. It is a map, okay? It is a blueprint, so to speak, that a lot of times we have to design and sit down quietly, not with the computer on or anything, and start mapping out, start drawing, you know, where we are and then where we're going to be. So she made a list, okay? What was it of? All the challenges, family issues, necessary steps for career growth, and an overhaul in her relationships. Okay, so she did that. She listed all her challenges. I would encourage you, list all the challenges that you have going on in your life right now, not to dwell on them, not to keep focused on them, but just to map out where you're going to go from there. This is where I am, but this is what I'm visualizing and experiencing in my mind, and it's coming forth. It's coming forth. And then hurtful words and deeds that were done to her. Okay, she made a quick list. Bullet points are fine. You don't need to just you don't want to draw everything out and dwell on it. It's just some things that maybe happened to her, okay? And then things that she did not like about herself. Okay, sometimes the list for that side is really long, and the list for what we like about ourselves is like hardly anything. And that's one of the things that we really need to change and flip around. One by one, she determined what should be kept. So sit there and go, okay, I need to keep this. Nope, nope, nope. And start doing that and actually crossing them out, marking them off. And what she needed to be replaced in order to design, she's the designer, you're the designer, a beautiful picture of what she really wanted in her life. How fun is that? I mean, really, how fun is that? So as time went on, her situation changed, although not as easy as maybe she would have liked. Yes, it takes work, it takes time, but it's worth it. She kept thinking about the trials others had overcome, and that gave her the will and the inspiration to keep going. Steadily, she pulled out more ill-fitting pieces of her life's pattern and created new flattering ones, rearranging as she went. And I think about that a lot. You know, our life is a pattern, just like we have a pattern for our clothing. Our life is a pattern. And sometimes there's a whole section over here. Something doesn't fit right. It doesn't fit anymore. It's unflattering. Okay, I'm going to pull this arm off in this pattern. I don't need all this. I'm putting, oh, look at this. This is so cool. This is my new pattern that I'm sewing in here. Think about your life as a pattern, because it actually is. What pieces need to be taken out? What pieces do you want to sew back in? And then maybe as time goes on, okay, I'm going to rearrange my time, rearrange my life a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to put this one in here now, and this is going to be a whole lot better. All right? So just like Bella, you too can make a stunning mosaic from all those fragmented pieces. Think about a kaleidoscope. My mom had a book of poetry that I helped her pull together. She was very gifted as a poet. And it was called Kaleidoscope. And she, talked about when you look through a kaleidoscope, it's a bunch of fragmented pieces. Kaleidoscopes are just beautiful colors, but it's all like torn, it's all broken up. It's just fragmented pieces. And so you keep working it. And as you work this kaleidoscope and you keep turning it, what happens? Oh, you're making all kinds of gorgeous designs out of it. So maybe your life feels like a kaleidoscope right now, and if it does, that's okay. That's okay. Keep turning, and make beautiful patterns out of it, because you can, and it's really outstanding when that happens. So always think about that kaleidoscope. Don't question or make excuses. Those are real easy to do. I'm afraid to try it, so I'm just going to keep right back here in my own familiar place. Those are excuses. I'm familiar with excuses. No more. Just visualize and create without analyzing or asking how it could come about. So many people are saying, the more I thought about it, the more I just got into that realm of really visualizing myself doing those things. It was like, here they come. People start asking me to do things. I didn't even have to go out and work for it. I see all these things about funnels when you want to be a speaker or have a business, and okay, you have to work with all these funnels, and you fall into all these people you contact, and then it funnels down to fewer people, and they say, like, in order to make one sale, you have to have a good talk with 10 people or whatever the case may be. No. This is allowing it to come to you because you're that kind of person now. So don't question or make excuses. Just go trust your Heavenly Father on how to do it. And as you ask him how he wants things done, what would make, I say, Father, what would make you happy? What do you want me to do? Because then I know it'll be successful and it'll be right. And then it's time for your metamorphosis. So there's a poem that I'll just quickly end with that my mother wrote that I used at the Mrs. Nebraska pageant. And it was about my life, what a terrible, awful mess my life was in at the time that she wrote this. And so this is what I'll finish off with. And it's called Metamorphosis, which of course means a striking change in appearance, character, or circumstances, usually by supernatural means. You'd never guess what happened to a little worm one day. Her heart was filled with sadness as she inched along her way. Oh, woe is me, she sadly cried. How drab my life has been. No matter how I've tried and tried, it seems I just can't win. I'm tired of being in the mud, of crawling on the ground. If I could soar through blue skies and walk or run around, I'm sure then I'd be happy and I could laugh and smile. Then joy and peace would come my way and life would be worthwhile. Then came a message floating on the breeze. It seemed to say, be patient and put your heart at ease. Just trust me for your future and let your old self die. Inside that lowly worm, I've put a lovely butterfly. And so as faith took over and possessed her every thought, she kept the vision in her mind of the miracles to be wrought. And daily, never doubting, she drew nearer to her goal. No longer sad, discouraged, her God was in control. With one last mighty struggle for freedom from the past, she burst the bonds asunder that long had held her fast. And with delight that knew no bounds, she soared up towards the sky, enraptured, happy, joyous, a lovely butterfly. So think about that. Rise and shine. Your day is now. God bless. See you next time.